Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's Zakiziel here, and tonight I'll be reacting to 5 Minute Lore Episode 24.5 The Warsmith by Old Man Reacts. I highly recommend that you check out his channel and subscribe if you haven't already. He makes wonderful content, both informative and also very entertaining to listen to his rants. And I'm looking forward very much to getting into this as well, hearing more about both Barabbas D'Antioch and his bro in the Imperial Fists. And as always, there'll be a link to the original video in the description box below. Now, let's begin.
Fist, and his name was Alexis Pollux. Credit roll, and we're offline now.
Oh, it's one of these.
Alright.
Resetting transmission parameters.
You're still angry.
Yes, I'm still angry.
You had 2,000 viruses.
Still angry.
Did they end up having to delete all of the tech for his toaster files? You know, I still love these stories about the colorful characters that the commissar works alongside in order to make the videos. Since titled The Warsmith, I wonder what the character is going to rather what kind of person, aside from the obvious them being a worse.
You had 7 terabytes of occupied RAM, and you couldn't even complete a sentence without spazzing out all over the place. Come on, Phasian. Your Megadite's temporary memory was filled with La Femme Tosta.
I had an NFT digital download of the lusty Armageddon toaster and a maid outfit, you ass!
NFT?
You actually bought an NFT. Oh, come on, are you serious? Come back. Phasian!
Chasing down on a runaway tech priest. That warp sorcery just now?
Greetings, maggots. I am Azak Araman, Chief Librarian of the Thousand Suns, Captain of the First Fellowship, Commander of the Sakmat, and Leader of the Corvair. And yes, I am a so-called heretic.
And don't forget the former Chief Librarian of the Thousand Suns. I've seen so many memes about him showing up because someone just says, watch this. Oh no, the library's in danger, and then just Araman just shows up.
Expel the curses and shrieks from your lungs preemptively, if you would, before we continue. I speak to you this fine day to edify you on the matter of another of those you refer to as heretics. I believe this group of heretics you might enjoy learning about. Why am I doing this rather than someone else? Well, if anyone asks, I was bribed into it by one of my own brothers, and we shall leave it at that. So, just be aware that while you may receive some amount of enjoyment from today's broadcast, I am very much being strong-armed into this. Our topic today is Warsmith Strider of the Iron Warriors and his warband known as Chaos Bane. Chaos Bane can be described rather succinctly as a form of bootleg Black Legion, except you get to retain your own heraldry when you sign up, without some petty bureaucrat pressuring you into showing your Black Legionary pride, whatever that means. They're more vacuous than cultists sometimes, I swear. Even more succinctly, Chaos Bane can be thought of by you as a so-called renegade chapter, only with extra steps. Chaos Bane's leader, Warsmith Strider, was recruited to the Fourth from some backwater world that I am forgetting the name of, long before the Lord of Iron was discovered. Born without a name and born into war, I am told that Warsmith Strider apparently killed his first man at the age of 7.
Oh wow, so this is like some medieval stuff of with these timelines. And by that I mean because in medieval children would find jobs at age 7, some or even end up starting as, if I remember correctly, potentially being like inducted, start training as squires under knights from around that age too.
After he witnessed the arrival and the battle prowess of the Fourth Legion, bringing his homeworld into compliance, the child Strider demanded that he join their ranks, and partly due to the sheer gumption of it, was accepted. He took up the mantle of Strider after the Iron Warrior sergeant he first spoke to called him a strident little devil.
The puns. Also, it's interesting and also very unexpected, by the way, that it was still a lore episode as normal, just that it's being done by Armin, and got thrown for 2 different loops there.
Who wrote this script?
A fucking idiot. You missed.
Necromlord? On the Commissar's ship?
Oh, for fuck's sake, he plays Battle Mace 42 million with a traitor Primarch every Friday. The fact that I'm here is barely the 5th most unusual thing you'd expect to find.
You had a point. Where did you come from?
I have an alcove that I rest in here. By the way, the fact that you're here is the 10th.
I'll try not to take offense to that.
Does the Commissar know that you're transmitting?
No, I'd assume he won't have an issue with it.
Not the first time you've shown up to a place and expected to do as you please, I take it.
Not really.
Well, in that case, you'll have to excuse me.
Where are you going?
Don't worry about that. Enjoy your broadcast.
In any case,
Yes, the
Strider moved up the ranks and eventually became part of the honor guard to the Legion Master alongside his best and only friend, Atlas the Mountain, whose size and strength made a mockery of most Astartes. However, Perturabo was discovered and called for the decimation in what was probably the least effective way possible, via lottery. Seriously, what was he thinking when he called for that?
Yeah, having, was it 100,000 people draw tickets from a lottery, and then the whole, being beaten to death by everyone else with their bare hands.
At any rate, as if dictated by fate, Atlas was among those called upon to die. Despite the protests of Strider, the mountain would break. For now, at least. Thusly, using the death of his closest brother as fuel, Strider pushed himself to eventually become a warsmith of the Legion, and was given command of a grand company. He and his company would go on to serve his Primarch and Legion loyally. No matter the content of his orders, he followed them to the letter. From the War of the Crud to the culling of Olympia, Strider carried out every task without complaints. As the fires of the Horus
Sounds like he was certainly iron within and iron without.
heresy first began to rage, Strider wasn't overly enthused about serving alongside the War Master, as he saw no actionable difference between it and his service to the Imperium. He served regardless, though he and his Grand Company made no effort to hide their newfound hatred of the Lord Bearer's Legion, viewing their new faith as a weakness that needed to be purged.
You know, seems pretty common for people to hate the word bears, both in universe and out of universe, which is understandable considering that a good portion of everything that went wrong is you can blame that on Erebus and Lorgar.
That antipathy would only grow as the years bore onward. There's even a legend that Strider slew one of the Gal Vorpak. Though, as far as I can surmise, that was more likely a greater possessed. At one point in the Horus Heresy, he was approached by an Ultramarines apothecary named Elspheus, who brought with him a squad of his fellow medics and wished to join Strider's company. As for precisely why this apothecary defected to serve a traitor legion is unclear, at least to me. Although, the only note of it on this script is, quote, "He gets it." So, they have an understanding, I suppose? In any case, it was during the heresy that Strider discovered a particular star system that he would go on to christen Eisen. This Eisen system will one day become Strider's own little base of operations. After the heresy and the legendary Iron Cage, he went back to the Eisen system and purged it of anything and everything resembling chaos and chaos worship, and turned the system into one of militant might, in every way attempting to make it a mirror of his adopted homeworld, Olympia. In the relative turmoil of the Scouring, the Legions of Chaos underwent a fragmenting, and Strider's Grand Company was largely left to its own devices, with the Eisen system becoming its own little fiefdom. After several years of harrowing and destroying other minor Chaos warbands for the mistake of worshipping the gods, Strider's Grand Company took up the mantle of Chaos Bane. Oh, what? No, my Finch, no!
Hello, noble blood raven.
Intruder identified as
a proud member of the Blood Ravens.
This servitor seems to be excited. Strange, but even the machine spirits seem to take delight in the presence of the God Emperor's angels.
Yes, well...
I understand you're transmitting?
He's spreading the word of
the God Emperor.
He's preaching from the book of lore.
Love and devotion to the Emperor.
How delightful. I have that book too.
Oh, please.
Anyway, his sister Hospitaller is there. You know, I also do still find it funny that you know, Lorgar wrote the Imperial Truth, and that has just formed the base of so much religious doctrine in the Imperium. It really is such an irony.
Please, no.
Oh, it's no imposition. I'll just go get my copy. We'll sing a hymnal together. Doesn't that sound grand, noble Space Marine?
We should ensure that the reliquary is locked.
Oh. Yes, well, I'll be back once that's done.
I'll be waiting.
I'll let the Commissar know that you're here. He's always happy to see a member of the Space Marines.
Ah, yes, because the Blood Ravens, or as some people call them, the Bloody Magpies, is that turned out to be a Thousand Sun successor chapter.
Dick Priest, Frasian, get me a copy of the inventory for the reliquary and meet me there.
What in the world are you trying to do to me?
Entertain myself. Much like I did when I saw how badly you failed the last time you tried to get in the Black Library.
How did you know about
Bitch, I'm me. I know everything.
Armin didn't have his Black Library card.
Enjoy yourself. I'm going to go watch her inventory, the reliquary.
She actually thinks you're a servitor.
She thinks you're a blood raven.
Point taken. I fear no man, demon, or creature, but that thing scares me.
Die, Harry!
Also, the hospitaller or having a ferret head is very is both very cute and very amusing. Ferrets and weasels happen to be one of my favorite animals.
Heretic, die, die, die! Burn in holy fire!
Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes. Chaos Bane. However, the Warsmith knew that he needed more than just his own Astartes to endure in this new galaxy. And so, through displays of power and promises of protection, he recruited several small groups into his fold. Those that Strider conscripted to his cause are, in no specific order, Adept Osiris of the Thousand Suns, his squad of sorcerers, and thrall band of Zangors who were yanked into Strider's fold by force, Centurion Goliath of the World Eaters, and his company of corny berserkers, who was defeated in a duel by the Warsmith and honor-bound to fight for him, Legionnaire Cain of the Night Lords, and his pack of raptors, who approached Strider and offered his services in exchange for payment and safety, Fortress Commander Rushfu of the Death Guard, and his company of Plague Marines, who were conscripted by Strider following the breaking of their citadel, Lieutenant Narcius the Pretender of the Emperor's Children, and his company of Noise Marines, who asked to join Chaos Bane out of mutual interest, and finally, the newly resurrected Lieutenant Atlas the Mountain, who had been brought back from the dead many millennia after following the decimation. He, of course, upon being resurrected by a word-bearer's scheme, jumped at the chance to fight alongside his long-lost brother. Upon recruiting each of these forces, the Warsmith granted each of them ownership of one planet in the Eisen system, and stipulated that any and all Chaos worshippers among his ranks must keep their worship confined to their respective world. In
You know, it sounds like he's shaping up to basically just be doing a better job of what Abaddon did. Because if I remember correctly, the stuff that Abaddon did to try and get different groups into the Black Legion was like, if I remember correctly, he's like specifically with a group of Noise Marines, he went and cut their arms and legs off and threw them in a sensory deprivation chamber to torture them until they were willing. Was it to make an example of them? Either one. But basically, it was he went around terrorizing the other traitor forces to try and get them to bend the knee to him. What else? But yeah, also, oh, it's quite fitting how he's been handling the whole like chaos worship thing. Partly because, if I remember correctly, the Iron Warriors don't particularly like chaos. They serve chaos undivided, not really because they so much want to, but more out of loyalty to Perturabo, if I remember correctly. And whenever they mutate due to chaos, as they cut off whatever is mutated and just replace it with cybernetics.
In more recent times, the Warsmith claims to have been a part of the expedition to locate Abaddon and the Vengeful Spirit, and even declined the offer to join the Black Legion, calling the despoiler a coward for abandoning his brothers and forsaking his heraldry as a son of Horus.
I imagine that must have pissed off Failbadon the Armless something fierce.
Though Chaos Bane did assist in many of the Black Crusades despite this, it is rumored that Strider once attempted to have his ships destroy the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, although it isn't clear why not. Sometime after the 13th Black Crusade, Narcius the Pretender attempted to enact a hostile takeover of Chaos Bane, breaking his promise of keeping Slaaneshi corrupted confined to the world he was given. The Pretender, humiliatingly enough, was stalled by a force of Strider's own personal auxilia of human soldiers. The conflict, short as it was, ended when the Warsmith intervened and killed the Pretender, using him as an example to the remaining Noise Marines and Slaneshi cultists to keep them in line. The event which led to the resurrection of Atlas was around this time as well.
I still find it so hilarious that the human auxilia were the ones who defeated the Noise Marines, which just reminds me of how much of a disappointment Fulgrim is.
Well, a word-bearer master of possession had stolen the armor worn by Atlas and attempted to corrupt his soul to chaos. The Warsmith proceeded to become temporarily cornate and launched a total assault of the word-bearer's fortress planets. Everything in the Cantina sink was thrown at the master of possession, and it was soon discovered that Atlas had returned to the world of the living. Atlas, incidentally, was placed under a spell that caused him to perceive Strider as the master of possession, and the latter as the former. Engaging his old friend directly, Warsmith Strider was able to, quite literally, knock some sense into the mountain, whereby Atlas joined Chaos Bane after 10,000 years of being dead and adrift in the warp. Chaos Bane, as an organization, primarily focuses its efforts toward the destruction of other Chaos warbands, and more specifically, those who turned against the Imperium after the Scouring. Strider, and Chaos Bane by extension, view those like the Astral Claws as no more than tantruming children, which I personally find ironic given Strider's own goals. Oh, right, I haven't covered that yet. The goal of Chaos Bane, at least that of the Iron Warriors among them, is to destroy any and all things in the galaxy that are even remotely connected to Chaos, and to eventually overhaul the galaxy and remake all worlds in it in the image of Olympia. The Warsmith believes that to be his idea of perfection and the ideal thing to strive for. It's really quite entertaining. What's even more entertaining is that he's probably expecting the Chaos Worshippers in his ranks to be as easy to cull as the ancient Thunder Warriors, which is just beautifully naive.
Especially when you consider that despite all their flaws, as it literally that the Thunder Wars were unstable and could just die because something biologically malfunctioned with them. If I remember correctly, there are still some of them running around. In hiding, granted, but still going around in places. So, even the Emperor couldn't totally wipe them out. And I don't think this guy has a fraction of the resources the Emperor had for scouring the Thunder Warriors.
As for the tactics used by Chaos Bane, they operate based on what you mortals would call blitzkrieg tactics. Although I suspect only the most scholarly of you would even recognize the term. Chaos Bane are fond of deploying Deathstorm drop pods, followed by teleporting in demon engines, followed by legionnaires to crush any and all remaining foes. Each and every time they deploy, they are led by Warsmith Strider, and each time they've come out on top. As much as I jest and jab, it's honestly kinda impressive. Until you remember that all of it is done out of spite towards the Chaos Gods, then it's just... I don't even know what to call it other than spiteful, really. Aside from that, Strider retains his own force of mortal auxilia, named the Rubigo Diable, or Rust Devils. The Diable reflect the warband's brutality, be it through training or in combat. Recruitment and drilling is constantly done using live rounds, and they are enamored with the employment of one-handed power mauls meant to crack skulls as hammers to eggs. Even the Rubigo Diable's traditions and conduct mirror this same brutality, echoing the old Iron Warrior disregard for combat losses and innovative tactics. The bodies of dead auxiliaries.
Ah yes, good old attritional warfare.
They are collected and turned into a kind of combat servitor, each with all the ferocity of an Eversor assassin. Strange.
Combat servitors with the ferocity of an Eversor assassin. Wait. Sounds like whenever one of those things gets released on the enemy, it just becomes a bloodbath.
No stranger than using the corpses of one's allies for food, but fairly strange.
Yep, the Imperium and its corpse starch. Which, remember, don't put rat paste on your corpse starch bars, or the Adeptus Arbites will confiscate your legs.
Either way, the Chaos Bane warband stands as a warning to all followers of Chaos. Should you see a small fleet of ships overhead, be cautious, as you may just get a visit from an overzealous warsmith and his merry, motley band of killers. He most likely won't be interested in hearing about the primordial truth and will be infinitely more interested in how your helmet will look on his trophy rack. The last thing you'll hear is the war cry of a stalwart and unrelenting legion as your prayers die in your throat and you choke upon your own blood. Alright, is that good enough? Fine then. I'm off to the planet of the sorcerers for a meal. Got a craving for a psychedelic stingray.
Psychedelic stingray trademark of McDorns. Yeah, that was a fun listen, as always. And I'm actually wondering now, given and how much this guy hates Chaos and wants to destroy the other Chaos warbands, and also his, wanting to destroy the Vengeful Spirit's bridge to kill Abaddon, which unfortunately he didn't do that. But I imagine that he may, assuming GW hasn't forgotten about him, show up and there may be conflict between him and Abaddon again, and I am looking forward to if someone more effective than than Abaddon ends up on top, because like Abaddon's first real success, if you could even call it that, in his 13 Black Crusades, it was throwing a Blackstone fortress at Cadia to destroy it. And if I remember correctly, all of his other prior Black Crusades, which were widely considered to be failures, were when the 13th happened, basically retconned into being, oh yeah, he was destroying pylon fields that weren't even really a thing, as far as I'm aware, until they started doing that retcon. But that aside, I hope you guys enjoyed watching with me, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe. And I wish you all a wonderful night,